And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. So today I am joined by recent PAX attendee and current worker honor of the game we're going to be talking about today, Diego of Warped Core Studio.
Hi. Yeah, that's right. I've been working on AquaLungers for almost 2 years now. So it's cool to get it out there a little bit and having people like yourself come and check it out.
So I'll start with the regular, who you are and what you do, like in the studio you're a part of.
Yeah, my name's Diego Almazan, and I actually started Warped Core Studio. It's basically a one-man studio with a couple tiny exceptions here and there. I get help wherever I can, but for the most part, the studio is just me. It started as my freelance business where I've been making art for different people or companies in the video game industry for the most part, as concept art and production art for the most part. So.
Okay, so when were you first exposed to games, like in general?
Oh man, I guess real early. I mean, shoot, I grew up in the, or I was born in the mid '80s, so yeah, we didn't. I think maybe when I was real small, like 3 or 4. I think my dad picked up a Nintendo. I have a very very faint memory of playing like maybe Mario and Duck Hunt as a small kid and not quite understanding it, but wanting to. And then not seeing that again for a while. I'm guessing it got us in trouble. Um, but yeah, eventually, I'd see friends and family who had their Nintendo, and the first time I really really remember getting excited for it was seeing people play Mega Man 2 and playing that for the first time. Super blew my mind, and that game still blows my mind today. It's so good. But yeah, probably then, real early age. It always fascinated me, as I imagine it does for a lot of people.
Okay, so you mentioned it a bit already, but your favorite game and or games growing up?
Yeah, so there's definitely Mega Man. I liked Sonic a lot. Lots of 2D stuff. What do you call? There's kind of a weird thing where yeah, there's those. The Final Fantasy games from that era are still really great. Though those I didn't play until way later, because 7 came out and had marketing. um, back when I was in middle school, that was probably the first game I paid for with my own money. Which me and my brother went out and like mowed lawns to get enough money to. Oh no, we mowed lawns and we sold M&Ms. I probably owe taxes on that, so well, maybe I shouldn't say that. But yeah, we made our I think it was $40 at the time, and ran over to the nearest game shop and picked that up. And then after that, I decided to investigate why there was a number 7, and I've never heard of any of the other ones. And yeah, I mean, I love me some like Final Fantasy 5 and 3, and those are all great. What else did I like a lot? I liked Metroid a lot. That's another one I didn't play till way later because I didn't have that as a kid. Um, yeah, it's kind of a wide range of things, because then the PlayStation came along, the original PlayStation, and that one just had a bunch of weird stuff that was awesome. Like you had stuff like Parappa. There was like the Jurassic Park games that came out at that time, which were a little bit weirder than the ones that came out for or like Genesis. I felt like you had stuff like Intelligent Cube and all these other wacky puzzle games where it really felt like people were exploring what games could be and just trying to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Um, it's definitely one of those times that I think about a lot because as a indie developer, there's a lot of that kind of coming back where people are trying all kinds of different things. Even in VR, right? Like people don't totally know what to do that with that. There's no set formula for making money in those spaces. So they're very interesting to me in that respect.
Okay,
I'm not,
and what would you say would be some of your favorite games or games now?
Favorite games now. Well, right now I'm playing Kingdom Hearts and I'm enjoying it. It's pretty much everything I expect it to be. It's confusing. It's over the top. There's a lot of flashy art and flippy movements. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just real simple these days. I still like a lot of indie games, so I really loved Shovel Knight when that came out, and Axiom Verge. Those were tons of fun. I'm always on the lookout for their updates. Trying to think what else I've played recently that's actually like a big title. I haven't been playing a whole lot. I've really been digging into my own stuff, but shoot. I've been getting my feet wet into Smash again for a little bit, just because I've been away from that, and it feels very different to me right now. But
Boy, does it.
yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, Street Fighter is something I played for a long time, and I got okay at it. So then jumping into something like Smash Brothers feels very very foreign and weird, and there's a kind of a charm to that. But like, I'm a pretty old school gamer. Like I like a lot of the classic stuff. Um, and I don't know if you've heard. There's kind of a knockoff called Super Clash Brothers. I've been looking at that for a while because it's a similar concept where it's like a mashup fighter, but all the characters are similar to their originals.
Hmm.
So like if you pick Mega Man, it actually plays like Mega Man. If you pick Sonic, it plays like Sonic. And to me, that just makes more sense. I could like jump in and kind of know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Whereas in Smash, like it gives you something like 32 buttons for each character. It's just like, okay, this version of Mega Man doesn't make any sense to me. This version of, I mean, yeah, if you're pulling characters out of an RPG, I guess it's gonna be different. But oh man, that's hard. Let's see other games I'm playing. Man, most of the stuff I really liked came out like 10 years ago or more. I like Shadow Colossus a lot. The remake was good. Um, let's see. Oh, and Doom. I mean, that was a while ago too, but the new Doom I really enjoyed also.
Oh goodness,
Yeah.
oh, that was a game.
Yeah.
So, how exactly was Warped Core Studio founded?
So as I mentioned, I've been freelancing as an artist for a while. So as kind of an attempt to manufacture some legitimacy, I formed it into a business called Warp Core Studio, um, mostly to kind of try to go after bigger clients and things like that. But it also kind of helps with taxes and that sort of thing because that gets really confusing. And it turns out it's not any less confusing when you have a business. um, but part of the idea was to kind of try to grow it over time by either, yeah, through a couple different means. But right now, what that's kind of become is I've kind of been wanting to start my own game project, and as like an artist trying to build something, you usually need a programmer, and it's hard to find programmers who aren't already doing something they want to be doing. So I ended up just taking some classes at Austin Community College for a summer, and that kind of got me started with the programming. And now Warp Core Studio has the programmers. So yeah, it's kind of pretty much how it's gone.
Okay. So now we can get to the real meat and taters of this. So, if we were back at PAX South and someone was moseying on by your booth, how would you pitch what AquaLungers is to them?
Oh, so what I would say is AquaLungers is a 4-player competitive diving game where, wow, what did I say? I had it down real small. What is it? AquaLungers is a 4-player, competitive diving game where players battle for treasure. The basic gist was players dive down in the water to collect treasure, and they have to run it back up, fighting past creatures and opponents to score the gold into their own treasure chest.
Okay. So, where did the central idea of the game come from?
I guess the very core of it was started when basically when I was doing my classes. One of the exercises, or I guess the kind of final, was to create some kind of game, and I had in mind at some point to do a game that involved 2D platforming and 2D swimming. So I wanted to kind of get that together to see if, as a beginner programmer, it was something that I could do feasibly. And it turned out to be a little bit easier than I expected based on what I knew. And just for the purpose of creating something quickly, I turned it into a 4-player sport. So basically what that came down to was kind of setting a couple rules, and then instead of trying to like make creatures with an AI or something like that, I mean, I had something super, super simplified at that time for that. When players play each other, you get a lot of gameplay out of that. So I kind of went ahead and did that, and that was also kind of a test to see if multiplayer, at least local multiplayer, was hard to do, which turned out to be not too bad in some ways and a super nightmare in some other ways. But yeah, it just kind of formed the basis of what AquaLungers is, and turned out to be really fun. So I've kind of stuck with it and decided to try to bring it to completion.
Okay. So, when the game is fully released and available to the public, like, how would a typical round of it, play out?
So the way rounds work is actually pretty much good to go. The way it works is players have a set spawn location at the beginning of the stage. And in most of the stages, especially the early stages, players spawn right on top of their goal, which is like their treasure chest where they're supposed to bring money back to. They're color coded, so red player has a red chest, blue player's got blue, etc. And you're supposed to run out into the level, usually diving down deep into the water. We do have desert stages, which have a little bit less water. But the idea is most of the time you're going to be diving down and trying to get past monsters and piranhas to farm gold from like a shipwreck at the bottom of the stage. you can also get money from killing piranhas, and like they'll drop a little bit of loot. But for the most part, you'll want to find a stash somewhere that you could dig up.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have the option of letting your opponents do all that stuff and just like spawn camping, and trying to take their money, because whenever you hit each other, you cause each other to drop money. And there are a few things you can do to actually outright kill the other players and get them to drop everything. And then you can basically snack it up and try to dump it into your chest to get all the points.
Yeah. I took advantage of that when I played that at PAX South.
Yeah, the thing I was kind of going for with that is that players have options, right? Like you could try to make it a race and do your thing, and use your speed to try to outpace your opponents. But you could also be a real dick and just go after whoever's got money and give them a hard time. And you could basically play with your own personality, and it kind of comes through, which is really cool.
Okay. And what made you decide to make AquaLungers a multiplayer game? Was it when you were when you're still in the planning stages? Was it always meant to be that, or like sometime midway through its development, was it single player?
So yeah, originally I did have a single player game in mind. This project was from the start just more of an exercise, that I ended up kind of packaging in a four player kind of mode, and it turned out to be way more fun than I expected. So I just kind of decided to put the other thing on hold and keep going with AquaLungers.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what made you decide to give the game an underwater aesthetic?
Mostly the diving aspect. Yeah, like I said, I was meaning to do a single player game that involved diving, basically diving and platforming. So that was kind of the idea from the get-go. I mean, everything started out gray box, but I don't know. I guess even beyond that, like deciding that I wanted a game that had an undersea element to it. I think just comes down to the fact that I love me like some monster movies and undersea mystery type stuff. I like a lot of what do you call, like the Lovecraftian mystery novels and things like that, or the stories. At least I think most of them are short stories. Yeah, there's a certain, I think, romanticism I have with or about the what's under the water and what it's like to like dive down and solve mysteries and all that sort of thing. And then yeah, there's also kind of like I mentioned my love for monsters and B movies. It's kind of in my mind a chance to draw and animate some wacky monsters that are kind of ridiculous but kind of horrifying at the same time.
Okay. So, when is the AquaLungers estimated time of release?
So I'm shooting for end of March. Yeah, I keep pushing it back. Originally it was end of October, then it was end of February, which February may be possible, but I think end of March is pretty safe at this point. So look for it in the near future. Yeah.
Okay, and when it is released, what platforms would you like to put it on?
Would I like to put it on? That's a different question
Oh yeah.
than what
Well,
I
what
can put it
platforms
on.
will it actually be on, and what
Yeah,
platforms would
so
you like to put it on that aren't planned?
for sure. So it's on Steam, and it's going to be released on Steam. It is released on Steam in early access right now. So basically, the big thing will be like launching the first like full version 1.0 version of it. Um, that's kind of the goal for end of March. But if people are looking to check it out right now, it's already on Steam. Um, in the future, yeah, like part of what I'm hoping is that once the game is out and it gets a tiny bit of traction, um, I could potentially start shopping it around for consoles. But I mean, like the Switch would be a great place for it. A lot of other people seem to think so too. Anything that'll put it on the TV, where people could play it on the couch together is pretty much the way to go with this type of game, and that's what it's intended for. Um, yeah.
Okay. It's time for the question that everyone always understands perfectly, and there's never any confusion on ever, any time.
Okay.
So, in your opinion, is video games?
I mean, that sounds like a yes or no question, so I would say yes. I think video game is. Um, in my mind, I mean, let me see. I guess the idea is I can make this question. It's like the station thing. Uh, what what are video games to me, or like I don't know what makes it matter. Yeah, I'm trying to make a good question out of this. um, but yeah, I don't know. I think video games are a great thing. Like I said, I've grown up with them. I know a lot of other people have too. It's been interesting to see what video games have become over time. Like even without considering like how much more advanced they are now than when they started. Like the fact that so many people have grown up with video games now and it's a lot more normalized. Um, it it kind of validates. I think maybe that's what it is a lot of it has kind of validated nerd culture in some way where, before you had to use your imagination a lot to really appreciate something, um, like an 8-bit game or what have you. Um, Whereas nowadays, I mean, things already like look super awesome right from the get-go. You don't have to use your imagination, and other people who might not have paid attention to it, in another time now can look at it and say, "Oh man, this is something crazy and exciting." Um, I think that's been an interesting thing to see. Um, yeah, and that might be true of a lot of mediums, to be honest. But I think for games particularly, I think it's really interesting. Any other questions or thoughts?
That just about covers it, which brings us to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. I would like to thank Diego of Warp Core Studio for joining me and giving me the rundown of his upcoming game.
Yeah, and thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on and coming by to check us out in the first place. Um, yeah, if you get a chance, I hope you get a lot of AquaLungers time in and let me know what you think. And same to your fans also. Like I could use all the feedback I can get right now. The biggest thing is getting it in front of people and getting a gist of how things are working out and trying to accommodate as best as possible. Um, with my with the amount of expertise I do have. So yeah,
Okay.
appreciate it.
And yeah, if any of the -7 people listening are interested in AquaLungers now, be sure to look that up. You can follow the game on, I believe, on the Twitters, like at Warped Core Studio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Twitter's at Warped Core Studio. Wait, let me double check. That might be Warped Core Diego, actually. Shoot. Here, I can check this. This is a thing I can do. Okay, yeah. So Twitter is at Warped Core Diego, and that's Warped Core, just like my company's normally spelled, and then DA_GO. Because apparently Warped Core Studio is taken, I think, on Twitter. Oh, no. I think it was too long. I don't know, something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, at Warped Core Diego for Twitter, and then on Instagram, it's at Warped Core Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, if any of the people watching this for some reason enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. On the rare times I post anything worth paying attention to, you can follow me on the Twitters at Tigorman83. Yeah, once again, AquaLungers, like, fingers crossed, coming out sometime the end of March. Check it out, buy it at least twice, maybe. And yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show, and we will see you next time.